All right, as the coronavirus spreads across the nation, millions of people remain confined to their homes. But while this pandemic continues to evolve, the outbreak is forcing officials to rethink the justice system. The move could bring freedom for thousands of inmates. RT's Trinity Chavez explains.
Corrections officials sounding the alarm over concerns about the rapid spread of the coronavirus and the risks it poses to those behind bars. With so many people confined together in small spaces, many are concerned that jails and prisons could be so-called incubators for COVID-19 to potentially take hold. In New York City, at least 12 correction employees and 21 inmates have tested positive for the virus, including disgraced Hollywood movie mogul Harvey Weinstein, who reportedly contracted the virus at Rikers Island and as a result is now in isolation. Other high-profile inmates like Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen, Bernie Madoff, lawyer Michael Avenatti, and rapper Tekashi 69 are all launching bids to be released from prison due to the spread of the virus. The New York City Correction Board calling on justice leaders to urgently decrease the prison population and release people who are at high risk of dying of COVID-19 amid the growing crisis in jails, saying in a letter, fewer people in jails will save lives and minimize transmission among people in custody as well as staff. Failure to drastically reduce the jail population threatens to overwhelm the city jail's healthcare system as well as its basic operations. Now, some inmates across New York and New Jersey are being released to prevent the spread of the deadly virus. In New York City, at least 75 prisoners have been released so far, and 200 more are being flagged for release, all who are serving sentences of 90 days or less.
But this process will be ongoing. It will be constant to determine what is the right number of people and who are the right people to release and under what conditions.
Meantime, the city's Department of Correction has reopened a shuttered facility on Rikers Island to separate inmates showing symptoms of the coronavirus from the rest of the jail population. This while New Jersey officials are also preparing to release 1,000 inmates. Chief Justice Stuart Rabner signing an order to release inmates jailed for probation violations or low-level crimes. ACLU New Jersey Executive Director Amol Singha said in a statement, unprecedented times call for rethinking the normal way of doing things. And in this case, it means releasing people who pose little risk to their communities for the sake of public health and the dignity of people who are incarcerated. While no other states have yet to take sweeping action to reduce its jail population in response to the coronavirus, President Trump is considering an executive order to free older, nonviolent offenders from federal prison. Reporting in New York, Trinity Chavez, RT.
All right, to expand on this topic, we are being joined by Watching the Hawks host Tyrell Ventura and Amisha Cross. So the Hawks have landed in the IQ studio. Thank you for being here. So what do you guys make of the number of inmates who might be released due to coronavirus fears? I mean, some of these people asking to at least be moved away from their cells include people like Harvey Weinstein, who apparently has tested positive for COVID-19 himself. He wants out to be relocated somewhere else. What do you think? Should some inmates get this get out of jail free card?
I mean, I think, look, I look at it like this. If there were inmates that tested and then now they're releasing them, then you have to ask the question, did the inmates really belong there in the first place? You know, if these people aren't a threat to society, if they weren't some kind of real threat to society, now they're sick and you want to give them care, then you have to ask, should they have been in jail in the first place? That's how I look at it.
I think that the overwhelming population should be released. Factually, over 70% of those who reside in jails across this country are low level. They are nonviolent. They are individuals who are there because they couldn't pay parking tickets.
Right.
They are individuals who are there because maybe they stole a grapefruit from a grocery store. These are individuals who do not pose any significant threat to the population.
Right. As we just heard in Trinity's report, she said these are low level offenders, people that are put away for 30 to 90 days, something like that. So these are these people that are petty theft.
When it comes to Harvey Weinstein, now on the other hand, I ask, why does he even get a test? Why did Harvey even get tested?
Well,
when we have a country where we have people aren't being able to have access to these tests, but we're testing Harvey Weinstein?
And they're not doing mass testing in jails either. So Harvey Weinstein is an example of someone who is still privileged even while behind bars.
That is a good point. So because of people like him, though, rich or not, he has tested positive. He is, I don't know if he's in an isolated area. You would hope that since he tested positive that he's quarantined, but he poses a threat, doesn't he, to other inmates, to the people that work in the jails because he's contagious? I mean, should he be moved outside of the prison system?
He absolutely poses a threat, but I think that we have to think beyond the context of Harvey Weinstein. For me, as someone who has worked in criminal justice advocacy for a long time and sits on boards for national organizations in it, my mom was incarcerated. She died from cancer in prison. So when I think about what can happen, the lack of actual access to necessities and medical care, we talk about the importance of hand washing and sanitizer. Sanitizer is banned in prison because it contains alcohol. These individuals have to pay for soap. They can't just go about it like we can out here. There is no way to social distance in a prison or in a jail. So I think that we have to think about this in the humanitarian context, but also in terms of the limitations you have if you are someone who is in jail or prison.
Right. I mean, this is totally going to pose a public health nightmare here, Ty. We already know, as Amisha just highlighted, the prison system has atrocious health care, if you even want to call it health care, if it's even available at all. What if someone were to die from this new outbreak of coronavirus? I mean, if they die behind bars because they're untreated from coronavirus, are they just collateral damage? Is it, I mean, is anyone liable?
We can't look at these people because they're incarcerated people and look at them and say, oh, they're collateral damage. Anyone who dies from a public health crisis is never collateral damage. This is that they died from a lack of infrastructure care. They died from the failure of our prison system to take care of incarcerated people. They didn't die just because they got the virus. That's the thing we have to remember. That shouldn't be their punishment,
exactly,
yeah. And nor should we should be treating these people, not putting them in solitary, yes, you have to separate sick from the unhealthy from the healthy, but they should not be punished for being sick. It's not their fault they got sick.
Right. We've seen video footage from several jails where people that are calling for help, they're yelling from their cell that they're bleeding or they have some trauma, and no one gets help. I mean, I can only imagine what might happen with a virus you can't see on the inside, right? So you brought up solitary confinement, Ty. There's folks against this move. They're saying, if an inmate falls ill with COVID-19, then perfect. Jails are the perfect place for them because they have solitary confinement. They can be confined there, and the virus will be kept in solitary confinement. How would you respond to that?
I've never heard something more ridiculous. First and foremost, solitary confinement falls against everything that we know about humanity. It increases the level of mental health issues because being away in isolation for any period of time is going to cause those types of issues. But in addition to that, solitary confinement in and of itself is a form of torture. The idea that you're going to take someone who is already sick and to put them in an area where they get nothing, no sunlight, no other interaction whatsoever, that only makes matters worse. Yes, we do need to work on containment. We do need to make sure that we're not spreading this virus, but solitary confinement is not the way to do it. And it's honestly demonstratively poor for anybody in the American population or anywhere else to suggest that that would be a solution.
So you don't like that argument?
No, not at all. And I agree with my co-host completely. And look, let's look at what this virus has shown us. This virus has shown us that our healthcare system is an abject failure. This virus is now showing us that our prison and justice system is an abject failure. Let's actually look at this and learn from this and learn from the mistakes that many of us have been sitting up, saying, look, hey, everybody, pay attention to this. This is a major problem. Well, now that virus is bringing all of this right into our front pages and right into our faces. And instead of reacting, which I fear that we will in this kind of, post 9/11, let's pass the Patriot Act and create more layers of government. Let's actually look at this and say, what do we truly need to reform and fix and get back to what it should be, not what it is today, which is an abject failure in our prison systems, our healthcare systems, everything.
And you guys recently did a special on Parchman Prison in Alabama. You sent one of your producers down there, did an in-depth story. We see the prison conditions. That's a good example right there. If somebody fell ill there from coronavirus, they can literally die. It doesn't matter if they're 30 years old.
The prison itself is condemned itself, So, I mean,
but
it's
still
like
operating.
Yeah, so I mean, exactly. So it's like, these are still people. These are still members of society, regardless if they committed a crime and are being punished for that. At the end of the day, they're still human beings. They're still somebody's wife, brother, sister, mother, daughter. There are all these different things that we have to care about them.
The narrative that we've created for so long, and the media has helped it to this extent, around incarcerated people, that they are irredeemable, that they are castaways, that they don't need to be in society, has helped people to create this ideology that they don't need to be helped. So if there is something that goes on, there are millions of people who die from the flu in jails and prison every year. There are people who don't have clean running water in prisons. There are people who don't get adequate food in prisons. It actually is a copay to see a doctor in prison. This is a problem for those on the outside, but it's a major problem for those on the inside, because where do they get the money from?
And these prisoners we're releasing, let's be clear, they're not, werewolves and Thanos. We're not releasing the worst of the worst of the worst. We're releasing people who are small-time offenders at the end of the day, and they should be getting help.
All right, guys, we got to leave it right there. I'm out of time. Tyrell Ventura, Amisha Cross, thank you for chiming in on this very important topic.